पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। ओम श्री कृष्ण परमात्मने नमः। We have been dwelling on this 18th verse in particular and associated shlokas before and after that. This 18th shloka of the 4th chapter made that very puzzling statement: those who see action in inaction and inaction in action are the wisest. They are done with everything that they had ever to do, and so on. And we went into the details of how that is possible. Adi Shankara, in his commentary, gave some examples from the phenomenal world also, where trees seem to be moving, but actually it is the boat that is moving. In the apparent movement of the trees on the bank of a river, there is actually no movement. And likewise, somewhere else, what seems to be stationary could actually be moving. So motion and no motion can be interchanged with respect to what appears and what the reality is. This phenomenal universe itself is full of such instances, but they are just analogies. Over here, the matter is, it is the senses and the mind which are engaged in action, and the pure self is never into any action or its result. Continuing, we also saw the 19th verse, which was rich praise showered upon anyone, lady or man, who with the Paramartha Jnana burns away all karma and karma phala. That expression in the 19th verse, Jnanagni Dagda Karma, is indeed a very uplifting phrase. Jnana is like fire. Next time you and I are stressed or depressed or feeling lost, in the light of this Advaita Vedanta, we must be clear that what is wrong is there is no fire of right seeing. If there is the fire of right seeing, then that stress, that feeling low, that depression, that sense of being bound will all be burnt away. Bring Jnanagni, then neither karma nor karma phala can bind you. The 19th verse thus said, that person is truly wise, in whose case all karma is turned to ash by the fire of knowledge, right seeing. Knowledge is never here the accumulated information of shlokas or mantras, concepts or ideas, but it is seeing rightly that one is not the doer, one is not this personality at all. We saw 20 and 21 also, a pair of verses. In these two, respectively, we have a case of somebody who is illumined, but for some reason he is into activities. Some prarabdha, some contextual, some situational issue. Karmani abhipravrittaha api, says the 20th verse. Even though engaged in karma, na kinchit karoti saha, does not do anything at all from her own or his own point of view. That is, the inner state is as though she or he is not doing anything at all. Therefore, it makes no difference whether outwardly one is doing anything or not doing anything. So from the outward point of view, verse 20th talks about someone engaged in action. Verse 21 talks of someone who has no activities. Though no activities in terms of profession, daily duties, daily responsibilities, and some cause for which one may be working, etc. The illumined person, as covered by the 21st verse, is seen to be going around and maintaining his or her body. So there was this expression, that is where today we have to take certain portions of Shankara Bhāshya, where there is a little bit of discussion. The phrase is Shariram Kevalam Karma. Shariram, the word means related to Sharira. So a doubt arises. Does Sharira mean for maintaining the body, or does that word mean things done by the body? So that is taken up by Adi Shankara. The Purvapakshi raises a question. Kincha shariram kevalam karma ityatra kim sharira nirvartyam karma? Does it mean action performed by the body? Sharira nirvartyam karma avipretam, is that the abhipraya? Ahos with. Or, as another option, Sharira sthiti matra prayojanam shariram karma iti. And that is discussed. We had made some reference to it, but to go word by word. Kincha ataha yadi sharira nirvartyam shariram karma. If it means done by the body, shariram karma. Yadi va sharira sthiti nimitta sthiti matra prayojanam. Work which has the only purpose of keeping the body alive. You may say, why should he keep the body alive? He is illumined. Let the body go. We have no right to ask. We have no right to object, for the illumined person has all the freedom. For whatever reason, she keeps the body up and active. So keeping the body alive, one meaning of Sharira, or done by the body. What do you mean by done by the body? Done only by the body, without speech and mind, etc., being involved. The body is functioning as per some rules of karma. Shankara says Yada sharira nirvartyam karma, shariram abhipretam syat. Let's take one option where it is done by the body, not for the maintenance of the body, but done by the body. Tada drishta adrishta prayojanam karma pratisiddhamapi sharirena kurvan na apnoti kilbisham iti bruvataha viruddha abhidhanam prasajjeta. All this talk will not be acceptable for karma siddhanta, that punya should give good results, papa should give bad results. That will be contradicted in this. For moment the body does something, just as in science, the moment there is a force exerted, Newton would say there will be an equal and opposite force. Third law of Newton. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Like that, karma siddhanta is inviolable. Therefore, Adi Shankara says, Viruddha abhidhanam prasajjeta. To say that nothing would happen, no result would come, how can that be? Once there is work, there will be result. That's one problem. Further, Shastriyancha karma, if somebody says, you see, the body does work, but in the case of an illumined person, the body does only such work that is approved by Shastra. And the Siddhanti here, the champion of the true school, objects there also in a different way. So the Siddhanti, Purvapakshi is the opponent, Siddhanti is the one who holds the fort. Shastriyam cha karma drishta drishta prayojanam sharirena kurvan na apnoti kilbisham iti api purvataha aprapta pratisheda prasanga. You see how the commentaries pay attention to every word. The word used here is kilbisha, that is sin. Sin would not come. So if you want to interpret Shariram karma as Shastriya karma anyhow does not get sin. Because if you do things which are prescribed by the Shastra, there is only punya and no papa. Therefore, to say, if you do Shastriya karma, that illumined person does Shastriya karma, he will not incur sin, will be redundant. Can Shastriya karma ever bring sin? Can Shastriya karma ever bring any problem? If at all it brings anything, that will be good only. Therefore, aprapta pratisheda means you are loudly saying it will not create any problem, when everyone knows that it will not create any problem. Shastriya karma won't create problem. Everybody knows. So to imagine that Shastriya karma will create problem is aprapta. There is no such possibility. So when there is no such possibility, why do you have to waste time and energy saying nothing will happen? There are several glasses filled with various things, and there are a couple of glasses filled with clean water. If you were to say those glasses are filled with some poisonous substances, and if anybody drinks that, that person will have problem, may even die. That's understandable. But if you point to a glass of clean water and say, you know what? I'll tell you something. You may not know this. If you drink this glass of clean water, you won't die. The other person would say, why are you wasting my time? That nobody would die drinking clean water is very well known. If there were even an iota of doubt that drinking clean water one might collapse, then there is sense in saying You know, you won't die. Take that clean water. You can't say, you should not say that where everything is so clear. Aprapta pratisheda. When there is a possibility of danger, if you come forward and say, I assure you nothing will happen, that's understandable. But when there is no possibility, everybody knows Shastriya karma is good, to say, that's called utterly redundant statement. Like you say to somebody, did you know the sun rose in the east today? That person said, don't waste my time. The whole world knows the sun rises in the east. Therefore, to interpret Sharira karma as Shastra Vihita karma is not accepted. Then further, Shariram karma kurvan iti visheshanat kevala shabda prayogacha. There is the word Shariram kevalam karma. Kevalam is to insistence by only bodily work. So what would that kevalam, only bodily work? Work done by the body only. See, the possibility is Shariram karma kurvan iti visheshanat kevala shabda prayogacha Vang manasa nirvartyam karma vidhi pratisheda vishayam dharma adharma shabda vachyam kurvan prapnoti kilbisham iti uktam syat. By saying only by the body, perhaps what is meant is only done by the body, there will be no sin. The moment you bring vak and manas, vang manasa nirvartyam karma prapnoti kilbisham. Having raised that possibility, Bhashyakara, playing the role of the Siddhanti, himself objects. Tatra api vang manasabhyam vihita anushtana pakshe kilbisha prapti vachanam viruddham apadyeta. So if you say, done only by the body will not be a problem. Moment speech and mind come in, there can be a problem. There are two possibilities. Speech and mind could get in and do what is Shastra Vihita, what is prescribed by Shastra. Then, as we said before, if the work done is as prescribed by Shastra, then there will be no sin. The word kilbisha would not be appropriate. And then again, Tatra api vangmanasabhyam vihita anushtana pakshe kilbisha prayojanam or kilbisha prapti vachanam viruddham apadyeta pratisiddha seva pakshe api bhutartha anuvadamatram anarthakam syam. So not Shastra Vihita, but Shastra Nishiddha. If Shastra Nishiddha is done, then also Bhutartha Anuvada Matra. Everybody knows that there would be sin if things opposed or things prohibited by Shastra is done by the doer. Therefore, whatever you say, this sentence seems to be either saying what is not required to be said or saying something which is self-contradictory. So there are all these possibilities considered, and Adi Shankara finally, what is important is his conclusion. After dismissing all these possibilities, he says, Yadatu sharira sthiti-matra prayojanam shariram karma abhipretam bhavet tada drishta-drishta prayojanam karma. These are all phrases, adjectival phrases. He could have just said karma, but to give more detail, karma could have drishta prayojana, results which you see right away in this very life, or adrishta, the results of karma which are to be seen after death, going to heaven or hell, etc. Sharira vang manasa nirvartyam anyad akurvan taihi eva shariradibihi sharira sthiti matra prayojanam kevala shabda prayogat etc. He sees in all these cases, the key phrase comes now. Let me highlight that. Shankara says, you may even underline that expression. Aham karoti iti abhimana varjitaha na apnoti kilvisham. What needs to be put aside is ego. What needs to be put aside is the sense of doership. Aham karomi, iti abhimana varjita. So it's not so much about Shastra Vihita or Shastra Pratisiddha, or it's not so much about being done by the body or being done for the maintenance of body. They are all unimportant. Either way, whether done by the body or even whether mind and speech are involved or they are not involved, put all of them aside. Ask only one question. What is that one question? Does the illumined one have a sense of I am doing? Aham karomi. Suppose that is absent. Aham karomi iti abhimana varjitaha shariradi cheshta matram lokadrashtya kurvan. In the eyes of people, lokadrashti. In the eyes of people, it seems he is doing. In his own eyes, he has the notion not doing anything at all. That's how in the next chapter, 15th chapter, there are two shlokas where the illumined person or the advanced seeker who is on the fence about to go beyond his doership is described. It is said, Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukto manyeta tattvavit. An illumined one would see this way, I don't do anything at all. Indriyani indriyarteshu vartante. We will be seeing those two verses. Adi Shankara in advance gives this meaning to the expression na apnoti kilvisham, no sin at all. And summarizing it, evam bhutasya papa shabdavachya kilvisha praptya sambhavat kilvisham samsaram na apnoti. So if the ego is erased, the literal meaning of the shloka is one doesn't get sin, but what it implies, says Shankara, samsaram na apnoti. There is no worldly existence anymore. There is no rebirth. There is no assuming a body, taking a body again, because taking a body entails a whole lot of issues. Hunger and thirst, joy and sorrow, disappointment and satisfaction. Everybody goes through these. Everybody is tired of this. This samsara does not come to someone who has clearly seen, I am not the doer. This is what was meant earlier, Shankara says, Jnana Agni Dagda Sarva Karmatva. All one's karmas were burnt. Outwardly it may appear one is doing karma, but from the point of view of the illumined soul himself or herself, Dagda Sarva Karmatva. Apratibandena, now with no obstruction, no objection anymore, no contradiction of any kind, Muchyate eva, will surely be liberated. And the last line in this piece of Bhashya is, Purvokta Samyak Darshana Phala Anuvadaha eva Keshaha. Therefore, this shloka is nothing new. The matter here is not new. Anuvada. Anuvada here is not translation. Anuvada here means, Vada is what was said. Anuvada, said following the earlier statement, much in line with what was said before. Anuvada for the benefit of seekers who may not have understood the matter on the earlier occasion. It is being said. Suppose somebody says, I'm going to Delhi tomorrow, and another person notices that people in front haven't understood what this Delhi is. So this person says, he is going tomorrow to the capital of India. So to say he is going to Delhi and to say he is going to the capital of India are one and the same. So Anuvada means saying the same but in a little different way. It's not literal repetition of the words. So what was said, Nanagni Dagda Karma, is now described as Karma Kurvannapi Kilvisham Aati. And same way, connecting to 22nd verse, where we said already, the case study is 21, 20 and 21 talked about those who are into work, those who are not into work except Sharira Karma. The 22 is one more praise of such an illumined person. Tyakta sarva parigrahasya yatehe annadehe sharira sthiti hetoho parigrahasya abhava. If someone has renounced all action and is just looking after the mere body, then what would be his lifestyle? How would he go about living the remaining days of that bodily existence? Annadehe sharira sthiti hetoho parigrahasya bhava. He doesn't run a house, he doesn't maintain a kitchen. So where will he get food? Where will he get anything that is necessary to keep the body alive? It is said, Yachana Adina. Since he doesn't run a kitchen, he doesn't run a house, he goes around and begs for food, asks for food from those who are ready to give, and with that he lives. This is explicitly said now in the next sloka. Sharirasthitau kartavyatayam praptayam. That becomes necessary, kartavya. It is to be done. He cannot sit just below a tree and food will not come from anywhere. He has to do that minimum amount of going around. And Shankara takes care to support this Gita Vakya, which will come in the next sloka, from, according to some Bodhayana Smriti, in some other books, it is some chapter or parva of Mahabharata. Probably it appears at both places. There is a shloka. Ayachitam asankliptam upapannam yadrichaya. Without pressurizing anybody, without planning in detail. Ayachitam in that sense. Otherwise, he goes around and takes bhiksha without doing some sankalpa. Okay, yesterday I went here, today I will go here, and I will get good food and clothes at such and such place. Without spending mental energy in those planning. Asankalpa, sankalpa, without making a sankalpa. Yadrichaya upapannam. It comes on its own. Of course, what is meant is minimum activity he does, but psychologically he does not scheme. He does not make an elaborate plan. That is mentioned in the shloka. Bodhayana Smriti also has said it. Ityadina vachanena anujnatam. So scriptural statements have approved, have endorsed. A yati can go around and accept diksha. It's not Shastra Pratisiddha, rather it is much allowed. It is in fitness of things. It is within the framework of desirable behavior. So the yati does that. Anujnatam, approved. Yatehe sharira sthiti heto annadehe prapti dwaram avishkurvan. So Bhagavad Gita does an avishkara. Avishkara means finding room, making room for, making a provision for. Here avishkara is not discovery of something out of the way, but providing, making a provision for a way in which the yati can get the food, etc. And the 22nd verse, though primarily it talks about a yati, that is an ascetic, who is primarily engaged in brahmachintana. And being engaged in intense and continuous brahmachintana, he does not get involved in running a kitchen or saving money, keeping something for tomorrow, etc. He lives an utterly simple life. For him, what do Shastras provide? What is permitted for him to do? It is permitted for him to go around and take whatever is willingly given by people. So that's how 22nd goes. Yadrichālābha santushto dvandvātīto vimatsaraha samasiddhāva siddhau cha kritvapi na nibadhyate. Sri Krishna has turned very fond of this apparently contradictory statement. What is that? Though doing is not bound. Kritva api na nibadhyate. Earlier he said, kurvannapi na karoti. Or he said, kurvannapi kilbisham na prapnoti. So, it is apparently self-contradictory, but not really self-contradictory. For generally, if anybody gets into work, what entails that work is joy and sorrow, disappointment and satisfaction, etc. Generally. But with Atma Jnana, what generally happens does not take place. So, Yadricha, Bhashya makes it very clear, means aprartita upanataha. Aprapta, aprartita, prarthana. Go and go after somebody. Please give it to me. I am hungry, etc. No. This sadhu goes around with a serene face. Even if there is hunger, he bears with it and says, if God is willing, my food will come today. Once Swami Vivekananda took an experiment. He just boarded a train and said, if God wishes to provide for me, he will provide. No plans, no money on him, and no worries about it. He just goes on the train. But at a certain place, as the train stops at a station, one person comes running looking for a sadhu. He goes to different compartments, he finds Vivekananda and says, I have been looking for you. Please come. And takes him home, gives him food. Vivekananda asks him, who told you about me? Why were you looking for me? I don't know you, you don't know me. How did this happen? And then that householder says, in my dream last night, I saw that I was told by some divine voice, go home in the morning to the railway station. such and such train will be coming, and there is a sadhu over there, bring him home and provide food. So this happened when Vivekananda was not at all well known. He was traveling around here in anonymity. Nobody knew who he was. He wanted to test whether God would actually provide. And this instance where somebody came running and looking for him on the train, that convinced him. He had all the faith, but that further made it clear that we don't run this world. It is God who runs this world. It is God who provides everything to us. Ahankara is an utter illusion. He realizes that. And as you may easily conclude, this realization that if God wishes, we'll get food, clothes, and everything else. And if God does not wish, no matter how smart we are, how well we plan, we'll not get anything. Everything happens 100% by God's will. This is Siddhanta. True renunciation is possible only if somebody understands this truth. If somebody believes that it is my effort that will bring results, then he may be a fairly good karma yogi, but he cannot be a sannyasi. A sannyasi should be very clear that everything comes by God's will only. So Vivekananda, outwardly, when people saw him having a lot of plans, going around, then he goes to West also, and outwardly someone were to see him from outside, he was actually looking for a sponsor. Who will buy my ticket? Who will arrange my travel? Who will over there also? Who will host me? Who will organize my things? Outwardly he was planning, but rest assured, with all his sadhana, with all the grace that he received from Sri Ramakrishna, and with such incidents like what happened on the train journey, overriding that external initiative, external action on his part, overriding it all. Inwardly, there was an intelligence in operation. That intelligence inside him was saying, whatever God wills will happen no matter other factors. Whatever God doesn't will not happen. That is how saints and sages operate. Inwardly, there is an intelligence that is operating in them. Shankara says, aprarthita, without asking, meaning without scheming, without getting identified with the outer world. Outwardly, even though that person is working, inwardly, as though an inner eye is watching all action and smiling. What is going on here? Tena santushtaha, yadrikshalabha santushtaha. What is santushtaha? Very well known word, content. Happy with whatever came one's way on its own. A lot of us complain of stress, of anxiety, of disappointments. All that is nothing but spiritual ignorance. All that is lack of faith in God. All that is a certain operation of the ego, insisting things should happen the way I want. Actually, the way things are happening is very good for one. But if one wants things to happen in another way, even though what actually is happening is good for one, one's insistence on another way things should happen, one is insisting. That is the cause of problem. One is unable to go with the flow, and some get hyperactive, trying to change things their way, and there are other people who are also equally foolish, frustrated, they just sit idle. The wisdom of spirituality neither asks us to get hyperactive nor asks us to stay idle. Never mistake all this wisdom to be a green signal given to staying idle. Please do not think that, well, if God is going to provide for me, I will get my food. So why should I let me sit back and read a newspaper? No, 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 no. One should do what is in one's hands. One acts in a certain, one should be consistent. I must have told you that story where a 10-year-old daughter attended a satsang with her mother, where the satsangkar, the pravachanankar said, if God wants you to go to a place, you will go no matter what. Everything happens as per God's will. You have no say at all. Next morning, the 10-year-old daughter refuses to get up from the bed. The mother is trying to wake her up, saying, get up, you want to go to the school. Daughter says, did we not hear yesterday in the pravachan? If God wants me to go to school today, He will somehow see that I am in the school by 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Mother is shocked. Oh, my daughter is quoting the pravachan in a wrong way, but she is also smart. He says, okay. He allows the daughter to sleep. Later on, when this princess Rajkumari gets up and comes down at 8:30 a.m. or so, having freshened up, daughter asks, Ma, what is the breakfast today? Ma says, I have not prepared any breakfast. What? I'm so hungry. Ma says, you see, if God wants, breakfast will come from somewhere. Why should I prepare it? Breakfast will descend on the table. If you are destined to have breakfast, then it will come from somewhere. Then the daughter apologizes. Oh, no, 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 no. Please give me something to eat, etc. So, we see the wisdom of Vedanta is neither about identifying with work and believing everything is in our hands. If we don't do this, the sky will fall and so on. That's one stupidity. And nor is this wisdom asking us to relax and stay idle. Therefore, it's a tightrope walk. It's actually very, very dicey, very, very subtle. Therefore, proper study, proper satsanga, proper discussion, proper interaction with competent people will give to us that vision. It's neither about the rajoguna, where you identify with the body and think you are the doer, nor tamoguna, where you comfortably believe whatever I have to get, I will get anyhow. Why should I put in any effort? It is sattva guna, where you do as per your swadharma, as per your inclinations, as per your skills. You do your best. So Swami Chinmayananji used to say, do the best and leave the rest. You must do the best possible, then leave the rest. Even as you are doing what you are doing, keep an eye on the rise of the ego. If the ego gets anxious, say to the ego, don't be anxious. If the ego tends to be lazy, says to the ego, don't be lazy, get up, do. Therefore, you and I, till our last breath, should remain active, but inwardly know that this remaining active is thanks to the blessing of God. God is making me do these things. If God doesn't want, everything will break down, everything will stop. I have no right to just announce, I won't do anything anymore and so on. So Arjuna was trying to announce, I won't fight the war. Eventually, he fought the war with all ferocity, as we know. Shankaracharya explains other parts. We have Dvandva Atitaha. Dvandva is Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. Dvandva, Shita, Ushna, Adidi, Hanyamanaha. Normally, an egoistic person is battered by heat and cold, praise and insult. But this wise person, Avishanna Chittaha, Vishanna, Vishada is sorrow. This wise person does not yield, does not succumb to sorrow. A wave of sorrow comes towards him, but he ducks below that, doesn't get swept away by sorrow. Or when he is praised, does not get carried away by that egoistic elation. Dvandvatika, avishanna chitta, vimatsaraha, vigata matsaraha. What is matsara? Here it is said vaira buddhi. And vigata matsara is nirvaira buddhi. Many other places, matsara is translated as jealousy or envy. But when we are envious of somebody, the natural outcome is we don't like that person going ahead, and then openly or secretly we wish that person falls. That person's success comes to an end. That person comes to even some harm. Whereas that is vaira, wishing someone ill. Nirvaira buddhihi. Samaha siddhau asiddhau cha. There is a sandhi. Sama siddhava siddhau cha. Siddhava siddhau is when you split. It's not a samasa, it is a sandhi. Siddhau asiddhau. In success and in failure, he remains same. How? By understanding what seems to be a success is yet another part of the long game. Today it is success, tomorrow there may be failure. So he may show some happiness on his face, but inwardly he knows this is all a passing show. Therefore he doesn't get attached to success. When there is a terrible failure, a wise man may show some sadness on his face. That is called certain expected behavior. If your granddaughter comes and shows the trophy that she has won at school, and because you read Bhagavad Geetā, you look at the trophy and no expression on your face, that is uncivil behavior. You should rather show great happiness. Really, you got this yesterday or in today's competition. How wonderful. Behave expected behavior. Vedanta or spiritual wisdom doesn't make you dumb, doesn't make you so much like a stone. You express appropriate emotions, but on an inner plane, samaha. Samaha siddhau asiddhau cha, and vimatsaraha siddhau asiddhau jilpape. Ya evam bhuto yatihi. This yati, somewhere it is a yatna shilaha. Yes, he is an advanced seeker. Annadehe sharira sthiti hetoho, for the purpose of food and some minimum clothes which are necessary to keep the body going. Labha alabhayoho, in getting or losing, samaha, harsha vishada varjitaha. Harsha is elation, egoistic elation. Please note, Gita or Vedanta is never against such elation which is non-egoistic. The best example given is you express happiness at seeing the sunrise. That harsha is not counted. This harsha and this vishada is elation and depression revolving around this I, me and my. I won and my enemy lost. Haha, how nice. That kind of harsha. Or my enemy won and I had to eat humble pie. So I'm depressed. That kind of I, me and my, that attention to one's separate self, that is mentioned here. They go away. Karmadau akarmadidarshi yatabhuta atmadarshan nishtaha sharira sthiti-matra prayojane. Shankara never leaves behind the context. For the last 4 verses, the context is to see akarma in karma or karma in akarma. So this yadricha labha santushta also, someone who is happy with whatever comes his way, also is able to be so thanks to seeing akarma in karma. Interested in just maintaining the body, Bhikshatanadi karmani shariradi nirvartye na eva kinchit karomi aham. Guna guneshu vartante iti evam sada samparichakshanaha. Always he sees that gunas are engaging with gunas. What is meant by gunas engaging with gunas? You see, when your eyes see something, the eyes also are made of sattva, rajas, tamas. And the object that you notice also is made of sattva, rajas, tamas. It's like in modern software. Some software has some bugs. And then they say we will fix it. We have something to debug this software. If you are totally ignorant of computer science, you think that what sets right this software may be some tool, some physical thing, some instrument, some hardware. But these days there is a lot of computer literacy. In good old days when computers were new, people had idea about physical things, hardware. But the software was a little confusing for people. So a debugger, a compiler, a translator, and there are so many. People would think it is an instrument, like a screwdriver or a cutting plier or something. And then you realize, no. The software which has some bugs or errors is set right by another software only. Software acts upon software. So that is so widespread now. Software acting upon software. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, gunas act upon gunas. You eat a mango, the mango is made of sattva, rajas and tamas. And your tongue also is made of sattva, rajas and tamas. What about the mind which says, wow, how delicious this mango is? The mind also is made of sattva, rajas and tamas. Buddhi is also made of sattva, rajas and tamas. Therefore, guna guneshu vartante. Is there anything which is not made of sattva, rajas and tamas? The real you. Pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is not made of sattva, rajas, tamas, because sattva, rajas, tamas belong to what appears upon the substrate of truth. It belongs to what is superimposed. It belongs to avidya bhumi. is the frame of reference of spiritual ignorance. The pure consciousness, the adhisthana, is not sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. The Shuddha Atma is not sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. But once there is error, there is erroneous seeing, the play that goes on as sattva, rajas, tamas everywhere. At the receiving end, at the giving end, in the medium, everywhere. So, guna guneshu vartante. Shankara draws from somewhere else in the Gita itself. While the two shlokas I mentioned from the 5th chapter, they use the expression indriyani indriyarteshu vartante. One level deeper, it is gunaha guneshu vartante. Then what are you doing? I am just the witness. Samparichakshanaha atmanaha kartrutva abhavam pashyan. So all this may look a lot of philosophy. You may say, what is it that we need to do? What you need to do is just this one line. Constantly try to see your own non-doership. Full stop. Atmanaha kartrutva abhavam pashyan. Be the witness. Be the sakshi. Do not take yourself to be the doer. If there is a sense of doership, understand it carefully. Reduce your identification. When something you did becomes a flop, some sorrow rises. Try to stand apart from it. As Ramana Maharshi would say, ask yourself, who failed? The mind would say, you failed so badly this time. The whole town will look down at you now. Don't yield to all that propaganda of the mind. Mind would go on and on. Mind is a chatterbox. The mind will go on saying. It will quote Ramayana and Mahabharata to make you miserable. Do not yield to that. Rather, stand back and go by the Vedanta Drishti. Don't even go by Dharma Shastra Drishti. Dharma Shastra also has limitations. Vedanta, Atma Darshana is the Purna Jnana. Purna Jnana, Antima Jnana, Charama Jnana, last word is Vedanta. Therefore, try to stay in Vedanta Drishti, not in some irresponsible manner, but stay in Vedanta Drishti, and you will actually see that rather than being irresponsible and washing hands off, you will actually come out with what is most constructive, what is most beneficial to all. That's the wonder of wonders. So what does he do if in his heart of hearts he thinks of himself as a not doer? Kartrutva abhava. Outwardly, Bhikshatanadikam karma karo. So most of you here are householders. Should we go and beg alms? No. If you slightly adapt it to your life, what it means is go around with your profession, with your investments, with your activities, with your taking care of children, grandchildren, etc. Do all those, but do not have expectations. Inwardly. Outwardly, you tell somebody, I expect you to do this for me tomorrow. You may say. Inwardly, where am I to expect anybody to do anything for me? If he does, good. If he doesn't do, okay, we'll find some other way. Inwardly cleanse yourself from dependence on expectations. Then you are a bhikshu. A bhikshu is somebody who goes, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi, and the lady of the house may give, or Some places a broomstick may come flying towards you. You just escape that and move to the next house. So, Bhikshu has a sense of detachment. You also, though you are dealing with money and other matters, develop a sense of detachment. Then you are living this particular verse. Loka vyavahara samanya darshanena tu. By ordinary vision, samanya darshan, laukikaihi, by people of the world, aropita kartrutve, they superimpose action on you. He is going around asking for alms. Vikshatanadav karmani karta bhavati. So in their eyes, you are very much a doer. Swa anubhavena, in your own experience. Shastra pramanadi janitena. That anubhava is not through some pranayama or some kind of special kriya. It is Shastra Pramana. It's a revelation of the Vedanta, of the Upanishads that has worked on you. Due respect to asana, pranayama and many things, with due respect to some sattvic food or some pilgrimage, so many things you do, all of them only generate a conducive state of mind. What sets you free is the truth that you receive from the Shastra. Shastra pramana adi janitena swa anubhavena akarta eva. To conclude this piece of Bhashya, sa evam para adhyaropita kartrutvaha sharira sthiti matra prayojanam dikshatanadikam karma kritva. Para adhyaropita. Others may see him or her as engaged in action. He or she inwardly knows, I am not acting. Vikshatanadikam karma kritva. So Krishna says, kritva abhi na nibhadyate. Though he is outwardly active, doesn't get bound. Why? Adi Shankara with such great patience again says, why he doesn't get bound is, bandha hetoho karmanaha sahetu kasya nana agnina dagdatva. What causes bondage is karma and identification, abhimana, etc. All of them are burnt away. With this, the Bhashya on 22nd verse comes to an end. And one more paragraph in the Bhashya is connecting link to the next shloka, 23. 23 actually praises such a person and it acts like a bridge shloka between all this discussion and the Jnana Yajna in 24, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havi. There is a certain Jnana, that way of seeing itself is like a sacrifice. It is the greatest Vedic sacrifice. You have Homa, Havana, Yajna, Yaga, right? The greatest Homa, greatest Yajna, greatest Havana, greatest Yaga is Samyak Darshan. That is said in 24. But connecting it to 24, or connecting the present portion to 24, is the 23rd verse, where the key expression, let me say at this moment, Samagram karma praviliyate. All karma. Agra means what follows, that is karma phala. Phala sahitam karma praviliyate. It's all dissolved. Such is the beauty of Samyak Darshan. No wonder Adi Shankara regards entire Bhagavad Geetā as Moksha Shastra, primarily. Gita gives us Samyak Darshan. Gandhi, Tilak and so many others, because of their samskaras, because of their field of work, called Gita primarily a source of guidance in Karma Yoga. Tilak called it Karma Rahasya. Gandhi called it Anasakti Yoga, doing our work without self-interest. That is what inspired them. God bless them. But Adi Shankara, with the complete understanding of Vedic wisdom, says this Gita is Moksha Shastra. And to facilitate that Moksha Shastra or Moksha Charcha, Karma Yoga, of course, is taught. Karma Yoga also is given to us. With this, let's conclude the talk. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.